Fake Baseball podcast is brought to you by Moonshots MLB. Whether season-long DFS or wagering is your thing, Moonshots MLB has the tools and content to help you succeed. All in one place and an easy-to-navigate, clean user interface. Basic stats combined with enriched StatCast data provide you a unique and fun experience. Weekly projections and weekly schedule to spot matchups for your start-sit decisions for the season-long players. DraftKings and FanDuel projections and optimizer for the DFSers. Wagering, got that too. A full odds board with game lines and player props for multiple markets and sportsbooks, featuring calculated ROI and so much more. If Moonshots MLB isn't part of your fantasy DFS or wagering process, you are missing out. Be a part of a growing and exciting community. Follow them on X at Moonshots MLB for more information. Moonshots MLB, more than just your average launch angle. What is up, everybody? Welcome to episode, I think this is now 45 of the Fake Baseball Podcast. It is Blake Meyer, as always, bringing it in with my man, Dylan Lydell. I'm going to start with you first, Dylan. How you doing today, my man?
Hanging in, man. Checking in for another one. Let's get after it. How you doing?
Dude, I'm great. I'm very excited for this episode. With us, we have Mr. Kev Mahserejian from the Operating Room podcast. I met the man at Tout Wars in New York, like 4 beers deep at the Dave & Buster's. And now we've come full circle and we are back talking fantasy baseball on the podcast. How you doing, Kev?
Yes, we are, Blake. It was a pleasure to meet you. It was a couple White Claws for me, actually. And just one correction, it is just Kev. It is not Kevin. For any listeners out there, it is not Kevin. This is really funny because we covered my last name before this, and my last name's a doozy.
The fact that I said Kevin blows my mind because I literally read it to make sure that it was Kev.
It is okay.
Good start.
It happens to the best of us, but Kev, I'm glad to have you on the podcast. I've been trying to get more people that I've been lucky enough to meet through the industry on to talk fantasy baseball, and we figured what better than to have you on today. And I mean, let's get right into the fact that we have a giveaway that we have to do today. I did not forget about the giveaway, people. We will announce the winner of that at the end of this podcast. So if you're listening now, just hang out till the end, and we will let you know who won that free year of Fantasy Pros Premium. But we are going to get right into some under the radar hitters for week 6 of fantasy baseball. We spend a lot of time talking about the guys that get talked about a lot by everybody else. So we wanted to mix it up and talk about some guys that make good options for fantasy baseball this week, maybe a little more into the future, but we're talking like this week specifically. And the first one that I just wanted to get right into, because he's kind of the talk of the town at the moment, or one of the talks of the town at the moment, would be Jordan Beck of the Colorado Rockies. One of only 2 players in the minor leagues to already have 5 home runs and 5 stolen bases this year, and he was called up by Colorado today. He's already 1 for 1 with a single in his major league debut. Kev,
shout out to Jordan Beck.
Yeah, for real. How are you feeling about Jordan Beck right now, and what kind of upside do you think he brings to that Rockies lineup?
I mean, the Rockies need anything and everything they can get. They just lost Nolan Jones to IL, and I think that was the corresponding move for Beck's call up. He's a 23-year-old, just turned 23-year-old prospect. He's had some strikeout issues, AA last year, 31.8%. I'd say AA is the best. I don't want to say mirror, but like best projection we could use for future stats, because AAA is, there are so many BS ballparks in AAA that you could get so many cheapy home runs. And they do account for that with weighted runs created plus, OPS plus, and all of that stuff. But even so, I'm not a big proponent of using AAA stats. Obviously, they help. At 23 in AAA, having numbers like
down there.
Yeah. Having a 425 WOBA is awesome. But I don't know if I'm over the moon on Jordan Beck. He could still be one of those guys that only really performs in Coors. We've seen a lot of their hitters come up and not be able to handle the altitude to non-altitude changes with traveling. So am I intrigued by Beck? Absolutely. Like, he's a top prospect for them, or a top prospect-ish. He was 11th in their 2024 report by Fangraphs, but Would I pick him up in like a deep 12-team league? Absolutely. Am I going to rush to add him in a typical home league? No.
Yeah, I'm spot on with you on that one. Dylan, how are you feeling about Jordan Beck right now?
Yeah, kind of in agreement there, but I don't know if you can get any worse than Nolan Jones right now. He just had like an absolute horrible start to the year. Who knows? Maybe this downtime, just letting him see the game from the bench for a little bit, get some different perspective, helps him out in the long run. But yeah, I don't know too much about Jordan Beck, to be honest with you. But like you said, you never know how a guy can come up and produce in Colorado. It's such a wild card with the ballpark and altitude and everything. We'll see what happens. I think he's shown some pop. He hit 20 bombs in 2023 while only striking out 20% of the time then. So we'll see. But like I think you guys have said, like not an absolute need or a rush to go and grab him.
Yeah, I know he's a popular name. The power speed upside is, I mean, it's intriguing, obviously, but there are things that do worry me because, like Kev said, you can't really take AAA stats. You have to take them with a grain of salt because it is AAA. But if you look a little deeper, there are things from his AAA numbers that do not excite me that much. He has a 104.4 90th percentile EV, which is slightly less than league average. Not great. He's only pulling 6.3% of his fly balls at AAA this year, which is, again, below league average. And he has an almost 31% chase rate, which is worse than league average. So, like, there's legitimate worries there. Guys that are overly successful at Coors Field are the guys that just excel at hitting the hell out of the pulled fly balls. Like, that's your bread and butter at Coors Field. And he's not even doing that at AAA, so I'm not sure I can just co-sign him going to Coors Field and all of a sudden everything clicks and changes and he can do that. 1-for-1 with the single today is cool. I do think there is upside there. I am nervous, though, because some of those underlying numbers aren't necessarily my favorite so far, so we'll have to see how that plays out. But if you want a speculative ad in like a deeper league, I get that. Outside of that, I'm probably going to sit on the sidelines and watch. But next on the list is somebody that, I mean, I'm going to be honest, he flew under my radar until I wrote my waiver wire article for Fantasy Pros on Saturday night. It would be Jacob Young for the Washington Nationals. On the season, he's playing great defense. He's showing an excellent ability to get on base, and the speed is insane with all those stolen bases. So, Kev, back to you. How are you feeling about Jacob Young right now?
Very real. This is a legit everyday player who could provide upwards to 50 steals. What is he on pace for? He has 12 in 21 games and he hasn't been caught. He had 13 last year in 33 games. He doesn't strike out, doesn't walk either, but he makes great contact. I mean, not great contact because he's not hitting home runs, but like he makes good enough contact to get on base. Yeah, him in an average league. And going back to Beck, if you want to add Beck in an OBP league, that's fine because he walks a lot. So that's the only kind of league where I'd be like, okay, maybe I should take a chance on him. But like with Young in an average league, absolutely. This type of speed, this is what you were expecting from like Estrella Ruiz to this point, or Victor Scott when people were adding him. This is the guy. And he's in a Nationals lineup that, who else are they going to play over Jacob Young? Nobody. He's a good defender. He provides average. He's going to score some runs. He's been hitting at the bottom of the lineup, but like I think against lefties, he's going to hit around the top. So, I mean, Senzel's picking up. I know Lane Thomas is gone. He's going to be out for a little while. So Young's role is safe. This is a must add in average leagues.
Agreed. Dylan, how are you feeling about Jacob Young right now?
Yeah, Kev kind of pointed out the one thing with him, just really for his game being such a fast player. He's not going to be a guy that's probably going to hit 15, 20 home runs, probably not going to reach that mark. I mean, unless something real changes. But I remember 3-4 weeks ago now, we're talking about Jackson Chourio and how he's been like one of those guys that can beat ground balls out. I mean, that's this guy's game, but with more speed. He's not going to have the pop that Jackson Chourio has, but if this is his game of just like bat to ball and kind of hitting them where they're not and just beating the ball to first base. And if he's not striking out, like that's his game. And Yeah, Stewie Ruiz. I think that's a really good comp. I like that.
Yeah, I love the Esteury Ruiz comp, but also I was just double checking the stats to make sure the comp in my head fit the mold that I wanted to say. Honestly, he really comps to me as like a 2023 Nico Horner. Gonna flirt with 10 home runs, steal 45 bases, make great zone contact. Not gonna strike out a ton, but he plays outfield instead of middle infield. And so if you're in a 5 outfield league, that's awesome. I mean, if you play in a 3 outfield league that benefits steals and on base, maybe like a points league. I don't know. I don't know if I would commit to points leagues, although I do really like his very low strikeout rate. That's something that is going to entice me for points leagues, but he doesn't walk that much. So I'm on the fence with that one. So don't quote me on that one. But I kind of like the 2023 Nico Horner comp. I think there is the ability to be that player if he plays every day. 25 stolen bases in 54 career games is wild. No home run sucks, but there's not many players that can do something like that. So I'm in agreement with Kev. I think he's a must-add right now. I think he's just too good, and he's making too much of an impact, and that Nationals team is starved of great talent as it is. So there's nobody that's going to take his spot. I don't think James Wood's going to be up anytime soon to leech at bats from him. So we don't really got to worry about that. But moving on to the next player. This is a pseudo Seattle Mariners podcast. If you couldn't tell by Dylan's hat or mine that I'm not wearing today. We love our Mariners around here, and I don't technically get to sneak them in as often as I would want.
You know this.
It does. But man, we got to sneak Josh Rojas in here. Because ever since JP Crawford went down, he's hitting leadoff for the Mariners. Dylan, I'm going to start with you on this one. What's your vibe on Josh Rojas right now in terms of fantasy?
I mean, it's not much, but he's really kind of backpacking this offense whenever he's been playing. I don't like the idea with him and Urias still. I just wish they would hand Rojas the keys to everyday third base, but that's not my decision. I mean, I think he's playing a good defensive third base too, but he's been a tough out. He's not striking out a whole lot. He's been getting his walks, but making really good hard contact, hitting over 300, already 3 home runs and a couple from the leadoff spot too. I mean, I'm crossing my fingers that this offense gets going. We all would have thought Julio could have been, on pace by now. Garver had the walk-off, which was nice to see. But I think once the help around Rojas starts to get going too, that he should be even better. So I think it may not be a bad idea to kind of jump the gun on others, because at least on ESPN, I haven't checked Yahoo or anything, he was only at around 2 or 3% added. And this is a guy that's going to be hitting at the top of the lineup for the foreseeable future, as long as his bat's hot. So if you're looking for a 1 through 3 hitter right now, and not many other options, so I think Josh Rojas would be a really good add.
Kev, are you thinking that the success in the Arizona series was kind of a little bit of a revenge tour for Rojas, or do you think he has some extended value right now that he's hitting leadoff for the Mariners?
Oh, absolutely extended value. He's obviously going to platoon as he's been. He shouldn't, because his career splits against lefties and righties aren't that far off.
Rojas is so hard to watch, or not, sorry, Urias. He's so hard to watch too, man.
Yeah, it makes no sense. It's just getting cute. Put him at the bottom of the order. That's fine. Put him 8-9. But play him every day, because he needs these everyday at bats. Yeah, he was not a big prospect. He was kind of someone who went under the radar. Alex Chamberlain, always loved him, wrote about him on Fangraphs. Him and Mike Talkman are 2 of his guys for the longest time. And they're both, look at them, they're both studs right now, or relative studs, under the radar, whatever. I look at Josh Rojas, I look at him as someone that is kind of making that jump that JP Crawford made last year. Like that career kind of jaggy hitter where you're just like, whatever, it's fine that he's in the lineup because he's a good defender. But now, I don't know if he went to Driveline, I don't know what he did, but this is tangible. And like 377 xWOBA is matching his 393 WOBA. Like he's fast. He could outplay his xWOBA any day of the week. But this is like a legit bat that should be added in fantasy. And obviously it is going to be tough if you're in a shallow league with the platooning, but 12 team and 12 team, 15 league team, whatever. Yeah, he should be added.
Yeah, completely agree with both of you guys. For my weekly waiver article this week, Rojas was one of my middle infield targets that I pointed out you guys should go pick up. It needs to be stated, a lot of the negative for Rojas was the beginning of that 2023 season when he was just abysmal and ended up getting sent down by Arizona for a little bit, came back up, just wasn't very good. Ever since he got traded to Seattle, he's hitting 284 with a strikeout rate just kind of barely above 20%, 20.3 if you want to get technical. 124 WRC plus. He's being productive at the plate. 15 extra base hits in that time frame with 7 stolen bases. So he's not going to blow you away with the counting stats, but I was on Sleeper in the Bust on Sunday, and I loved when Justin Mason, he referred to somebody as an accumulator, just somebody that over time they're not going to like flash any crazy numbers in any particular game, but over time their production is going to add up and add up and add up, and they're going to become fantasy assets. I think Rojas falls into that accumulator category. The more he plays, the more you're going to see how good he becomes. Yeah, 284, 2% owned. You got to target somebody like that. So yeah, I think he has short-term and long-term value right now.
Yeah. Crawford, that's what Crawford was the past few years, though. Like he had 94 runs, 65 RBI, 19 home runs last year. He wasn't flashing every game, but that was a good fantasy player if you had him.
Absolutely.
It really was. And he's a good trade target this year for when he comes back to, for people that are listening. I think JP has a little bounce back from that slow start he had this year. I think last year was the real him. He did have that. He drank that I went to driveline juice and it paid off last year. Slow start this year, but yeah, I completely agree with that. Next guy we want to get to is Richie Palacios for the Tampa Bay Rays. He has been starting damn near every day at this point for Tampa Bay and has found himself to be pretty productive. I'm going to go back to you, Kev. What are your thoughts in the short term and long term for Palacios right now in Tampa Bay?
Short term, you pick him up. 3 homers, 3 steals, 16% walk rate. That great OBP target if you're looking for it. 297 average, and again, xWOBA a little bit off. He's definitely outperforming a little bit, but 356 xWOBA, you love to see that. The the Rays are just a factory for turning someone else's prospects, specifically the St. Louis Cardinals, into fantasy relevant players. And outfielders specifically, we look at Rosarena, who's struggling now, but he's still Randy Rosarena for the past half decade. Palacios could be that next guy. I mean, yes, the strikeouts are up from his career rates, but even so, if he's going to hit for power like this, if he's going to get on base like he has, he's hitting like second, right behind Yandy Diaz. He could be hitting first. Who knows? Yandy's been struggling. So I'm picking up Palacios. Yes, he might sit versus lefties, but even so, he looks like a transformed man.
Yeah, completely agree. Dylan, how are you feeling about Palacios right now?
Okay, that was really bothering me. I forgot to look it up. I knew Palacios wasn't always on the Rays, Cardinals. That makes sense. Man, I don't know what's going on with the Cardinals. These are not the same Cardinals I watched growing up. Their development has just been absolutely horrible the past decade with their prospects. That's another story, though. But, I mean, yeah, Tampa's kind of made him into fool's gold to start the year. Another guy I don't know a whole lot about, kind of flying under the radar, but Kev, you kind of sold them well. Listed off a bunch of good numbers there, hitting just under 300. Yeah, 3 bombs, 3 stolen bases, and Tampa's not a bad lineup. It's a good lineup, above league average, I'd probably say. So, if you're in a pinch and need some outfield help, sure, go for it in probably a deeper format, I would say.
Yeah, I think he makes a fun target right now, just because I'm not quite sure what his ceiling is. So, and fun guys are cool to pick up and play in fantasy, because sometimes Mike Trout gets hurt when he's looking like the best player in baseball again, and you just need a little fun injected into your lineup to make things interesting for your fantasy team again. I think between last year and this year, he's played like 55 games, and I think his pace for those 55 games is like 25 doubles and 24 home runs with 15 stolen bases. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'd take that any day from a waiver wire target over the course of a season. Now, does he play the entire year? Who knows? I'd like to see him get like 450 at bats this year. Who knows if that happens? But again, he's fun. So yeah, if you need him in like a shorter time frame, love it. I know in our listener league, our 16-team listener league, I picked him up, I believe it is, and I'm rocking him there. And in the pitcher list kind of company league that I'm in. I picked him up in there too. Yeah, he's just been fun. And he's also one of those guys that if he does just go ice cold, it's okay if you drop him. He's not somebody you're picking up and really expending a lot of draft capital to get him. But I want to point out another thing. I'm adding segments into this show for those of you that are listening. I'm adding segments. We're going to mix it up a little bit, baby. First, before we get into that, though, I want to make sure you guys remember to go subscribe to our Fake Baseball Patreon. Patreon.com/the Fake Baseball Podcast. We put up extra episodes there every week, as well as written content. We are working on getting better at the written content, but it is only $5 a month. That is less than the cup of coffee you purchased yourself on the way to work this morning, and you get an entire month's worth of content. So make sure you go check that out. Patreon.com/the Fake Baseball Podcast. All right. So this first segment, we're only going to do one today. It's going to be called Stardom, Sit 'em, or Quit 'em. I have 4 sections of 3 names. I'm going to give them each to Dylan and Kev. They have absolutely no clue who these names are. I was going to do some cool like background game show music, but we're going to cut that cheesy part out for now. But Kev, you're the guest, so I'm going to give you the first one. We're just going to say 12-team, 5 outfield league. Just your standard roto league. First 3, Stardom, Sit 'em, or Quit 'em. Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, Randy Arozarena.
Okay. Stardom, Evan Carter against righties. Can I cheat and say that? Because he's not playing against lefties.
I'll allow it.
Okay. Langford, sit him, Arozarena, kick him. Because the Texas offense is so much better than the Rays. I know you mentioned the Rays' average. I don't even know if they're average this year. They've been horrible. No, I mean, obviously Wander had his issues. He's gone. Yandy's not playing up to snuff. Palacios, again, one of their best hitters. And that's saying something if Richie Palacios is your best hitter. I mean, Isaac Paredes, I guess, but it's neither here nor there. I still want every piece of this Rangers offense. Langford just hit his first home run. I mean, it was inside the Parker, but it was right there. It was like right on the top of the of the wall. So, and he stole a base last week. So I'm going Langford over Arozarena, even though Arozarena has more counting stats. It's just I'd rather have the Rangers offense than I'd rather have a Rays offensive piece.
Love it. Dylan, start him, sit him, or quit him. Evan Carter, Wyatt Langford, Randy Arozarena.
Just for the sake of being different, I'll start Langford, sit Carter, and then I'll give Randy the boot. And I think, I don't know if you watched the game, Blake, but same part of the field in Texas. Was it off of Luis? I don't know. I forgot who it was off of, but he hit the same spot of the park against us too, but it didn't go out. Mm-hmm. So I think Langford's getting real close. So I think I'll just I'll take what I've been seeing from him as of late and put him as in the start. Like you said, Carter's not getting the start against lefties, so have him on the bench there. And then Randy, he just hasn't had quite the season that we're used to seeing him have.
See, okay, so there's technically no right answers for this, but since I did make the segment up, I'm going to say that there are correct answers. I think dropping Arozarena is the correct answer. I didn't think you guys are both going to say that. But yeah, I agree. He's struggling. He looks like he can't hit his way out of a paper bag right now. Moving on to the next one, and you're going to tell I kind of do these by position sections. But Kev, back to you. Start him, sit him, or quit him. Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, Bo Bichette. 3 struggling guys in the middle infield.
Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson. Okay, start Dansby Swanson. Sit Bo Bichette, cut, or whatever the last one was, Bogaerts. Because Bogaerts' wrist is still an issue, I think, from last year. He'd been getting injections into it, but he'd never had surgery. And I don't know why these players who are dealing with ligament issues don't go get surgery. Like maybe Mike Trout dealing with this meniscus for over 6 months now, let's say. I'm speaking in hypotheticals. But like, why would you delay the inevitable? Same with pitchers with TJ. Bogaerts has been dealing with his wrist, and it is showing in every plate appearance. His expected stats aren't awful, but even so, it's I don't know what's wrong with him if he's not going to get this, if he's going to continue struggling. And then Bo Bichette, I don't know. I think the Toronto offense is just dumb. They don't have enough lefties.
Weird.
Yeah, but Bo Bichette's Bo Bichette. He's gonna be fine. And Swanson, he's been okay. He hasn't been terrible. He's been the best of these three. And like the Cubs offense might be the best of this bunch at full strength. I think.
I agree with that. San Diego's offense doesn't excite me whatsoever. And yeah. Toronto's never really excited me. They never seem to live up to the hype that we have for them coming into every year. But yeah, I agree with that one. Dylan, how we feeling about this? Xander Bogaerts, Dansby Swanson, Bo Bichette, start him, sit him, or quit him?
I actually forgot the order Kev put him in. I was looking up all the numbers. So I will go start Dansby, sit Bichette, and then I'll cut Bogaerts. Just that injury concern. That's the one thing I did pick up in Blake. You and I, it's been some time. We have not been huge on Bogaerts since we've started this whole thing. And Bichette's, he's too good of a hitter. Like him and Vladdy, I just have too much confidence in. We've seen it before. They'll get back on track. Like I'm not all too worried about them, but do they deserve to be in the lineup right now? No. And Dansby's just the best performer out of the bunch right now.
Yeah, again, there's no right answers, but you guys got the right answers. Bogaerts is the quit him for me. Like Dylan said, we have not really been on Xander Bogaerts. I haven't been on Xander Bogaerts since he left Boston, and technically he is one like superhero level September last year away from being like a pick 250 in drafts this year. He hit like 420 in September last year to save that hell of a season he had. The wrist is a serious issue, and it doesn't seem like it's getting any better, and neither is his performance. So we're going to go ahead and cut Dansby Swanson. Next, Dylan, I'm going to have you start with this one.
Yeah.
Nolan Arenado, Alex Bregman, Yandy Diaz, start him, sit him, quit him.
Nolan, Yandy, and who?
Alex Bregman.
Bregman. Oh, cut Bregman. He's been awful. That's easy. Start Nolan. God, what was that third name? I'm sorry.
Yandy.
Yandy. Yeah, I'm sorry. And then sit Yandy. Nolan's hitting 270. Like, we'll take that. Only one home run, which is kind of concerning. But sure, I'll go with Nolan. That's been my guy forever. I'm too loyal to the soil with him. So
I feel it.
Yeah, that's why I'll go. Start Nolan, sit Yandy, cut Bregman.
All right, Kev, Nolan Arenado, Alex Bregman, Yandy Diaz, start him, sit him, quit him.
Start Bregman. He did this last year. He had an extremely slow start from like through March, April. I can actually look it up right now. And then I would sit. Wow, this is tough. I think I'd sit Arenado because I think the Cardinals offense gets better, even though he's coming off like shoulder surgery. And then cut Yandy because again, the Rays offense is just weird. And Yandy, I don't know what to make of Yandy, honestly. Like he's playing completely different than he's played throughout his career. At least he was making contact in previous years when he didn't have power. At least he was making good contact and like hitting ground balls. Now he's just not making good contact at all, and they're not going anywhere. So, and again, I think the Rays offense of these three is probably the worst. Astros, I want every piece of the Astros, like the Rangers. Like you just take the good / healthy pieces of those teams. Yeah, I'm looking at March, April last year. Bregman was hitting 219. He had a 230 BABIP, 318 WOBA, but walks and strikeouts were normal as they are this year. He has like a 9% walk rate, 11% strikeout rate. That's completely normal for him. So it's not like he's not making bad swing decisions or anything. He's just not really lucky. And yeah, I want the Astros third baseman. He's going to play every day. He's going to play in the middle of the lineup. They'll figure it out. I don't know what's wrong with them. Him specifically.
Hopefully a lot, and they never figure it out.
Yeah, but they will. Sadly. Yeah. Altuve's hitting, Jordan's hitting, Tucker's hitting, Bregman's gonna be hitting as he does every year. 25 home runs, 100 RBI, 260 average. That's what he's gonna do. No steals. But like I don't know if you get that from Arenado and Yandy, but I'm pretty sure I get that from Bregman.
Okay.
Yeah, Yandy was my guy coming into last year, and it was awesome to see him perform at the level he performed at. But I agree. I don't know what the hell is going on with him this year. And technically, I think it's after May last year. after May last year, he hit like 4 home runs for the entire year. I think he hit 10 home runs through May and then 4 for the rest of the year. And now he's just void of home run power again this year. So this is a very long stretch. And it is falling to, I mean, he's not Luke Raley, so don't take this as me saying he's Luke Raley. But when we talked about Luke Raley previously on the podcast, it was about how at this point, the bad has far outweighed the good in terms of plate appearances and production, to where that short stretch he had of excellence at the beginning of last year, you can consider that the outlier. I'm starting to think that short stretch that Yandy had at the beginning of last year when he had all that home run power might be the outlier of his career at this point. He might just be that guy in 2022 that hits like 9 home runs or 10 home runs, and that's what he is. And that cool 2-month stretch with 10 home runs was just you're going to look back and tell your grandkids that you watched it happen live. And that was just a distant memory. So yeah, again, I agree with both you guys. You guys are nailing this right now. The last one is starting pitching. So it's a little trickier, but it's starting pitching. I picked 3, 2 of them just so happen to play on one team that happens to have somebody in each one of these categories, except for one. First one, Kev, we're going to start with you. Start 'em, sit 'em, quit 'em. Cole Ragans, Zach Eflin, Aaron Savali. I swear to God, the Rays in everyone is not a coincidence or on purpose.
Start Ragans. That's a no-brainer. He's Cole Ragans. He's been sick. Yeah. He had one bad start. I think sit Eflin, even though he's not getting the same amount of strikeout to Savali. Cut Savali, even though I would still roster him again, like back to a Rose Rain too. It's not like I'm cutting him for fantasy teams. I'm just cutting him within the range of this 3. Yeah, I still want Savali. Like, I think he's fine. He's had like 3. I hate saying the tale of 2 seasons, but he's had 3 really good starts to start the season, and then 3 really bad starts to like the last 3. But his strikeouts were there. XFIP below 4 on the season. xERA, Sierra both below 360. He's fine. I'm definitely picking up Savali, but even so, among these 3, I think him and Eflin are very close, but then it's like Ragans by a mile. Yeah, as the start.
I couldn't find, like when I did, so I was like, Eflin and Savali are definitely going to be in here. I need to find somebody else that is could be in the vicinity. These tend to be people that I've been asked about, like, oh, should I drop them? Is there something wrong with them? So that's kind of where the Ragans one came in. I actually had somebody ask me if they should drop Cole Ragans. So first of all, the answer is no. You should not drop Cole Ragans, but that's why he is here. Dylan, same thing to you. Start him, sit him, quit him. Cole Ragans, Zach Eflin, Aaron Savali.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with Kev there. And the only reason I would go with Eflin over Savali is just I think Eflin's just kept the walks in check a little bit more. Yeah, that's kind of the reasoning behind that. So yeah, I'll go start Ragans, sit Eflin, and then boot Savali.
All right. I love it. That's pretty well. I mean, that's all I have for this segment. I wanted to make it short. Since this is the first one, I didn't really know how long it was going to go. If I did 4 groups, I could have done 12 groups if I wanted. We're almost done with the episode. I did want to point out, again, I joked about Mike Trout. Mike Trout is hurt, and it looks like he's going to miss
a bit of time.
Not the entire season, but Ted said like Mike Trout now out for the season. So who knows what could happen with the knee injury. Meniscuses can be tricky. So if you have Mike Trout, stash him on the IL. I'm not going to drop him right now just because there's that hope that he does come back. Kev, I'm forgetting. Are you in Tout Wars or did you just come to hang out with everybody?
I am definitely in Tout Wars. I would not fly to New York from LA.
Oh yeah, LA.
I love all of you fantasy baseball guys. I love all of them, but I am not flying to New York just for the sake of hanging out. I am.
That's
in
a trip,
Wars.
Man. That's a trip.
Okay, good. I'm just making sure. I flew to New York for 28 hours just to fly back home. We live in Washington, so
I was there for 5 days, 4 nights. So like I made it worth my while.
Okay. That's what I'm going to do next year. I'm going to make sure I like take a couple of days off work to go enjoy it. How's your Tout Wars team doing so far?
Decent. I'm second, but at the same time, it's like April 30th, so I'm not really counting my scores yet.
Which league are you in?
I'm in 15 team mixed OBP. I think they're all OBP, so it doesn't matter. But yeah, 15 team mixed. It was auction. I'm pretty happy with how it came out. Like I didn't get Spencer Strider. I had him last year. Mookie Betts has just been carrying my offense, honestly. Mookie and Tyler O'Neill, God bless them. My catchers stink. My pitchers are pretty good. I like them a lot. But then again, I have no saves, and I'm just getting Yohan Duran back. And I spent, I think, the most on any closer for him. So what are you going to do? We'll see. Hopefully he's himself. I had a lot of Yohan Duran. I had a lot of Devin Williams. I had a lot of Bednar. Bednar's shaky, but at least he's getting saves.
Yeah.
I definitely messed up with my closers this year.
That's the worst feeling ever, because you come out of these drafts where you need saves and you're like, you know what? I fucking nailed that. Sorry for cussing. I nailed that. The saves category. And then you're a month into the season and you lose 2 closers real quick. And you're like, all right, cool. Everybody else already picked up all the ones on waivers, so I don't know what the hell I'm going to do.
I'm learning that too. This is my first year doing rotisserie style anything. And I was like, oh no, I'll just, if I low on saves, it won't bite me too bad. But I'm learning that real quick, that saves do matter and pack a punch.
Yep.
They do. And all right, everybody, if you are still here listening, I appreciate you. I love y'all that are still here listening. It is time to name the giveaway. I did run it on random.org. And the winner of the free year premium subscription to Fantasy Pros is Matthew Hennings, who I also notice is in the chat. He has been rocking with me on these podcasts for a long time. So congratulations to you, Matthew, for winning that year premium Fantasy Pro subscription. If I could talk, this is a damn podcast. I'm supposed to be able to talk. DM me on Twitter and I will get your info that they need over at Fantasy Pros to get you locked up with that. Make sure you guys follow us on all of our socials at Fake Baseball Pod everywhere. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. We're going to have a bunch of new YouTube comments coming up. And Kev, once again, remind the people where they can find you.
Yeah, at RotoSurgeon on Twitter. The Operating Room Podcast is where I put out my voice even more. If you want to hear it, if you don't, I don't mind. And then, Rotoballer is where my writing is at. And I have my Patreon, Patreon/Kev Mahserejian, I guess, or just look up my name on Twitter. And that's where all my rankings, just the deeper dives go. So, Blake, Dylan, thank you guys for having me on. It's been a pleasure to talk fantasy baseball.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate you coming on, and we will catch you all on Thursday.